So then he started, killing people one after another, all the critics.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, that's that Mad Magician film. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like that was the one guy, the guy was eating the food and it was saying, "Oh, it's so good food." And Vince Price kept saying, "Well, do you like the flavor?" "Oh, I love it." He goes, "That's all your dogs." And the guy was a total crazy. He had poodles and he was totally crazy about his poodles. That was like his whole life. And just to let him know that he ate it, and then they put that last little bit thing, with that thing that forced the food down his throat. That was the end of it.
Oh yeah, isn't that Theater of Blood?
Maybe
it's not.
That
I think that one's Theater of Blood.
That could be. Oh yeah, he was an actor. He was an actor. Yeah,
and he exactly. He was an actor in that one.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm
sorry, folks. I made a mistake. Blame it on Michael.
No, it's all good. I'm just going, oh, wait a minute, because I thought I made a mistake there, too. I'm like, that doesn't sound like the Mad Magician. But then I was trying to remember the name of it. I was like, that's Theater of Blood. Yeah.
And then I like the one he did, like when the world kind of basically had a nuclear holocaust, and that movie was made in the late 50s on a black and white, very low budget, but that was kind of unique, too. It was not his normal, how the type of films he would star in.
Exactly. Well, and because they kind of call that kind of like a vampire film or a zombie film kind of thing. It's actually the same story that the movie I Am Legend is based on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't know that right away. I found that out after the fact. Like, wow, because when you look at the two of them, they're completely different films, other than the kind of, post-apocalyptic nature of them. They're really different. But it's supposed to be based on the same work. It's really, which is a interesting bit of trivia.
Yeah, and I got a question. I mean, a lot of people were asking me the last time you were on the show, Ron, bloopers. Any really good blooper when you make a movie? I mean, where you sit back afterwards and you go, "Wow."
Wait.
Well,
what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean where somebody screws up their script really bad, and everybody cracks up laughing, or you say the wrong, line, or something's supposed to be happening and it doesn't happen when it's supposed to happen, that type of thing. And are you still there, Michael?
Yeah, I'm still here listening.
Okay.
There he is. Well, there's bloopers all the time. I mean, if you're on, it's like most of the time when you're working on a film, my recollections of things like that is not so much the end product, the film itself, all the time. It is many times the experience of making it. If you talk to any actor, producer, director, or any crew or cast, their recollections of that film are working on it, not so much the end product, which is what the audience sees in the end, what they roll out. And there's always things that go off, that go wrong. People can blow a line, or like you say, maybe a practical effect on set doesn't go when it's supposed to, or doesn't go the way it's supposed to, or something else kind of funny happens. Sometimes somebody might add a little line that's just really funny, and you just kind of lose it because you didn't expect it. So it's there's all kinds of stuff like that happens on a film set when you're working on anything like that. There's all kinds of wacky stuff that goes off. It's like, even if you look at the Dark Realm DVD, we put some of the bloopers and things on the disc as part of the extras, which a lot of movies do when they come out on DVD and everything, which is the fun about the DVD. I mean, it's great to be able to stream everything online, but, for the extra content and all the, commentaries and all that fun stuff, I still love to look at DVDs, because if you go in and listen to like actor and director commentaries and look at all the behind the scenes bloopers and things like that, it's like going to film school. So it's really fun. Yeah, to get a look at a film like that. But crap like that goes wrong all the time. And then, it's hard to cite one particular incident of anything. Other than, when we were working on Dark Realm, because Vinny was acting in the film, and he was also directing and running crew. So we kind of split the duties, because we co-wrote and co-produced the movie.
Now, was he getting you the sandwiches and the coffee too?
No. Well, no, we did have enough budget to where we had some craft services people for that. But like everything else, he was even building sets. I mean, he worked his ass off. I could never have made this without Vinny. And so I'm eternally grateful for that, because it all started when he came to me and said, "Hey, let's shoot your show," meaning he wanted to record my live performance. And I said, "Let's not just do that. I'm like, let's make a movie out of this. Let's make it a really unusual, presentation for this." And then we were off to the races with Dark Realm as a feature film. But, he was working so hard, and he was fried out of his mind one night when we had to shoot the scene, which is the two of us backstage. People will see it in the movie. And he's kind of rummaging around backstage, and I come across him and we have a conversation. Well, when we shot that, and this is one of the bloopers that we put on the disc, when we shot that, he was just out of his mind, just freaking out of his mind, and he could not get his lines out. He could not do it without just breaking down and laughing. I've never seen him in such a state, because we were just doing so much and he was running so much of that production. You'll have to go and get the disc and take a look at it, because it is so funny. And there's this whole line where he's just doing this whole thing about "here, kitty, kitty," at the end of it. And it's really funny, and you kind of have to see it to be in context, but it was just so hysterical because he kept breaking up and he was out of his mind, and that was breaking up me, because I was acting with him or trying to act with him. And then, so he's breaking up, he's breaking me up. And then of course, we had a small crew because it was a tight backstage, scene. So we had some lighting people and sound and camera, and those guys were all busting up. So there are things like that happen all the time, and it's just like I've never seen him take so long to get through such a small scene, and that's because he was just out of his gourd. That it's great fun.
Oh yeah, that's what I like about things like that on movies. I used to know James Gardner. He was a friend of my dad from my dad served.
Really?
Yeah, my dad served World War II, and
that's
then
awesome.
Korea, and he met James in Korea, and they became friends like the last couple of weeks before they were discharged. And almost every summer when I was growing up, I didn't even when I was a little kid, I didn't know who James Gardner was. But he would come up in the summer to visit my dad, and they'd spend a weekend together doing, I guess, what men do, whatever they did. And, one time I remember a little story when I was older. He liked playing practical jokes on the set quite a bit. That was his nature. And, when he was doing Maverick, he was, carrying the gun and all that little thing. So what he decided to do is, like, fake out one of the stuntmen, who was going to shoot him, and acted like it was a real bullet in the gun. And how he did it, I guess, out in the set, he had a gun with real bullets in it, and he was, firing it, and everybody knew he was firing a live gun, at a target. And then when the guy went to shoot James Gardner, it's supposed to like been a flesh wound. James Gardner supposedly fell down, acted like he was dead, and it freaked everybody out. And he had the biggest laugh, he said, over that.
He pulled off his own illusion right there.
Well, he did, evidently. I mean, could you imagine? You sit there with a gun and, and pull the trigger. But you know what? You guys, when you make these movies, you got to be careful, because there was a TV show maybe about 10 years ago. I can't remember the name of it. But one of the guys, took a gun where they're filming. And it was a blank gun. So that's what he thought. He put it up to his head and pulled the trigger, and it killed him. So, I mean, there's even with a blank gun and stuff like that, you got to be really careful on that.
Oh, you do. You always have to know your props, special effects, especially when you're doing gunplay and stunts like that. I mean, look at what happened to Brandon Lee when he was shooting The Crow. I mean, such a tragedy, such a good movie, and he was such a good actor, and and he got shot on set and killed because something jammed in the gun, and so there was an actual projectile that came out and shot him.
Oh yeah,
and it killed him. Yeah. So
yeah,
it is. It's dangerous. You have to know what you're doing if you're going to have gunplay on sets and things like that. it's vital that you have crew in place that knows exactly what the hell's going on with that and what they're doing and have experience with it.
Well, I know that James Gardner told me after that, when he started doing like the Rockford Files, they had a guy. It was basically, when he had actually any gun scenes, the prop master would hand him, the gun after they did the scene, immediately take it away from him. So, to make sure nothing ever would happen.
Yeah, there's some strict protocol with things like that. I mean, and there has to be. It's for good reason. It's always interesting. And then you see like Penn and Teller do things like the amazing bullet catch that those two do. I mean, and they're using live weapons on stage and like you shooting bullets into each other's mouths. It's crazy. But on a film set, you have to know what exactly what's going on, with the weapons themselves and the ammunition, the blanks, everything, who's controlling it and going on, it going off it's a vital, protocol and skill and process, it's you don't want that going wrong,
Well, how about, in these movies where somebody's getting decapitated with a sword or a huge knife? Mm-hmm. I mean, what are those knives made out of that nowadays a lot of it's all done digitally, it's faked out. But I mean, back a few years ago, they actually used props. What type of props were they? Were they rubber or plastic or what were they?
Well, there's a lot of things like that. I mean, you can have blades they were made out of a lot of things. They could be plastic. They could be a foam. Now they can now they're using silicone more and more and more. So there's a lot of different things that are it could even be a real knife. Something that looks like a real knife and actually metal, but it doesn't. It probably doesn't have any sort of an edge to it or anything. If they're going to actually have it up against somebody where they're going to be cut, there's things like that where they have that and they can, then pump blood. Or a lot of times now they don't even use practical effects as much. They might even if the knife was a practical thing they had on set and in their hand that just wasn't edged, they will then put in the blood afterwards digitally.
Well,
that saves them time and money as well.
Well, the Stargate series that was filmed in Vancouver, Canada. They really brought the digital effects, forward a lot, not just on their show. I mean, what they did, it enhanced what everybody did. I mean, the effects of the bullets, the shells coming out of the chamber, the blood, digitally putting in. Like you watch The Walking Dead, see all the blood flying around. I mean, they gotten really good with special effects, really good.
Oh, They have. I mean, they're to the point where, you were talking about the gunplay again, a lot of the gunplay too, it's not always, practical. They'll have a gun, but even the muzzle flash out of that gun is all done digitally later.
Yeah.
All of that,
Yeah.
It's all found in effects afterwards.
Yeah. One of the actors I had on my show here about a month or two ago said in one of the major movies he's in, they were using like M16s and M something 5s and all that stuff. He said they were airsoft.
Oh, yeah, they used...
no, they were not airsoft. Yeah. They were, airsoft guns. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, because they look so realistic. So then they put in the sound, they put in the flash. They look real nowadays.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and it's amazing, and I'm all for it. I mean, they make it look so good now. They've been able to emulate that so well on screen, and I think that keeps everybody safer. On set. When you don't have all that, when you're not trying to use a lot of, live blank rounds and things like that, where it's not actually in the gun, where it's all done in post. It challenge for the actor, but once you have that skill down, how that is supposed to, how that's supposed to feel and move, when it goes off, then, that's just part of the acting job at this point. It all depends on how they're going to do that. It depends on the budget and everything too.
Oh, yeah.
You see some things that are just loaded with weapons and stuff, and then and that can be one or the other or a mix of both. A lot of times there's things that are there that are practical, that are on set and actually working, and then they are then augmented with the CGI later after the fact. And I think that's some of the best stuff is the things that are a mix of practical effects and the CGI. But in terms of the gunplay, certainly they've gotten really great with the